So a lot has been made, and rightly so, about Arne Slot's amazing start to his Liverpool career. He's broken all sorts of records, 15 wins in the first 17, no one's ever done it. Best start to a Liverpool management career of any manager in our history. It's quite spectacular. Most of the pundits that I've been listening to, they've said things like, well, he hasn't changed very much. He's taken what Klopp was doing and he's tweaked a few things. Well, I think there's more to it than that. He's not signed anybody. We've got one signing, but he hasn't played. So he's been left with Klopp's squad, which is a fantastic squad. So it's very easy and a bit lazy to say, well, it's the same squad, all he's done is tweak a couple of things. But I want to talk about the effect he's had, not just on the team as a whole, but why he's had an effect on the team as a whole. And I believe it's all to do with the effect that he has had on all of the individuals in that team. So I want to go through several of them and give my perspective on where I think Slot has made a significant and major difference to their game, and as a result has made a significant and major difference to the team as a whole. Now, first thing to say is a few of them I'm not going to talk about: Alisson, Virgil and Mo Salah, because those three are world class and very much at the top of their game, and have just continued on in that vein this season. But I want to talk about a number of others, and I'll go from back to front. And I want to start with Trent and Konate. I'm going to talk about them two together because I think it's important. Trent has this reputation for not being a very good defender, and if we're honest about it, defensively he's not as strong as when he's going forward, and he's caught out of position, doesn't make tackles we think he should have, or he's caught ball watching. I think part of the reason for that is under Jurgen, Trent was given license to get forward all the time, to the detriment of his day job of playing the right back and defending that part of the field. And then as we got further into his career under Jurgen, he then moved into this hybrid role where he was trying to accommodate sort of both sides of the game, trying to make him a bit more defensive, but also trying to use his skills from a midfield position. Now, at the same time, why I want to talk to them together is Konate was then being asked to be a centre half and a right back. So whenever Trent bombed forward or went into this hybrid role, Konate was then having to worry about not just the central defensive position, but the right back position as well. And Slot has come in and he's changed all that. He said, no, Trent, your day job is to defend. And as a bonus, you're also a brilliant creator. But you're staying back there more frequently to make sure that that part of the field is guarded. And guess what? Konate can stay next to Virgil, protecting that part of the field. Trent has also gone on record of saying that Arne Slot talked to him about how he needs to angle his body to become a better defender. And he's listened to it. Now, I don't know what he said to Konate, but I'm guessing that he's had similar conversations with him and said, you know what, you're too rash, you get too close to defenders, you give away too many free kicks in dangerous areas, and there's no need for it. You've no need to be that gung-ho. And I think that might be why he didn't pick him at the start of the season, and he put Kwanzaa in. He soon realised Kwanzaa wasn't ready, and Konate has been back in ever since. But have you noticed how few times Konate now goes into the back of players and gives free kicks away? Hardly ever happens. And at the same time, he's not always looking to his right to make sure that he has to cover that part of the pitch, so he can solely concentrate on his job of being a central defender. And guess what? Him and Virgil are being talked about right now as the best central defensive pairing in the world, at least in Europe, and rightly so. The effect that Slot has had on both of them, I think, has been hugely significant and a big reason why we have been so much more defensively sound this season so far. 6 goals let in 11 league games. So let's move on to the next player, Ryan Gravenberch. He was a bit player under Jürgen. He was a bit of a jack of all trades, unable to make any position his own. But the vision of Arne Slot has come in, and he's looked at Ryan Gravenberch and said, you know what, you've got the skills and the vision and the technical ability to come in and take on that hugely influential these days number 6 role. And he's creating a Rolls Royce out of this player. You could actually argue that he has been the star of the show for the entire team this season. And when you look at what Mo Salah has done, that's some accolade right there. His vision, his passion ability, his defending, his ability to turn out of trouble. And you know what? He put him there in the pre-season, and it didn't all go exactly to plan. He was getting caught on the ball at first. He was turning into trouble a little bit at first. But guess what? Within a matter of games, he has gone from that player who was a little bit nervous and caught on the ball a little bit too much to, as I say, this Rolls Royce of a number 6. And he's not just a number 6. He is patrolling in front of that back line. He's been exemplary at doing that, but at the same time, he is able to turn defence into attack quite brilliantly. I can't wait to see him grow, because right now he is playing at the top. You know, some people I saw the other day talking about him being potentially player of the season. We're only a handful of games in, but he's been that good. So let's move on to the next one in midfield, Curtis Jones. Now, Curtis Jones has been on the fringes of the team for several seasons now. My criticism of Curtis was twofold. I didn't think he was fast enough, and I didn't think he thought quickly enough about the right pass at the right time. He always took an extra half a second to make the decision. So I wondered, was Curtis ever going to get to that level? Wasn't helped by injuries, wasn't helped by him being in and out of the team, and any time he would have a little bit of a drop off, he seemed to be out of the team again. But again, Slot has come in, and we're seeing a completely different Curtis Jones. He's playing quicker, he's releasing the passes quicker, his fleet of foot is quicker, he's doing more sprints, he's thinking quicker. Slot has said to him, listen, you've got to give that ball instantaneously. You can't dither on it. If a ball is lost, you're running back. You are getting back at high speed, and you've got to show it. And guess what? Curtis Jones has been up there with the best players in the team at recoveries. So he's another one that is far exceeding expectation of where Curtis Jones would be this season. My criticism of him in the past, for the reasons I mentioned, I don't have those fears anymore. And I think this is again down to the coaching of Arne Slot. Now let's move on to the front line. Gakpo didn't start the season. Even though we had a really good Euros, Slot didn't start him. And I suspect, I don't know of course, but I suspect there's a reason for that. He was lightweight. He wouldn't go into tackles in the way Slot wants players going into tackles. He wants to win that ball back as soon as possible. And I think Gakpo was getting knocked off the ball a little bit too easily. I actually saw an interview with Gakpo recently. What he said he was focusing on is he was working on being meaner. And guess what? He's been meaner. He hasn't suddenly turned into an animal, but he has been much more aggressive in his play over these recent games where he's got himself back in the team. And I think as long as he continues to do that, he will A, stay in the team, and B, continue to grow and be an essential player for us. Let's move on to Darwin Núñez. You're not seeing Captain Chaos anymore. He's another one, couldn't get in the team. I think he was too chaotic for Slot. I think Slot has said to him, reel it in. I want you more measured. I want you more controlled. I want you to be making the right decision. I don't need you to be flying into things here, there and everywhere. That's not the type of control we want. And guess what? In recent games, you've seen the measured pass he put to Salah to score against Arsenal. You've seen the measured finish that he did against Aston Villa. And just overall, what I would say is, well, he's playing smarter. It's not all high power and energy. It's more thinking about what he should be doing, what his role entails, and it's working. I think there's one area he still needs to work on, and that is his erratic finishing. Because again, against Aston Villa, he had a one-on-one that he blasted over, and he headed one over that he should have scored. But even in that one, he didn't come flying in for a header. His movement off the ball was absolutely superb, and unfortunately he didn't finish it off. But all the signs are that we are going to get a much more controlled, and I think because of that, a much more effective Darwin Núñez going forward. So the last one I want to talk about, Luis Diaz. Now, Luis Diaz has been, I'd say, one of our stars over the last 18 months. You can never ever question his energy. You can never ever question his commitment and his tackling and his work rate. But he was becoming a little bit too predictable on the left, always cutting in onto his right foot. I've sat there like, mix it up. Well, guess what? Slot is mixing it up for him. First of all, he has improved on the left and he's going both ways now. But at the same time, he's starting on the right, or he's coming on the right, or he's starting up front. And he's been proven to be effective in all three of those positions. So right now, if you're the opposition, you're like, all right, we know you've got Mo Salah on the right. That's a given. But God knows how we're going to stop him. But the other two positions, you've got Gakpo, Diaz and Núñez, and all three of them can now interchange. All three of them are being more effective than they were last season in the areas that they needed to be more effective in. And I think it's just absolutely incredible. So they're the ones I wanted to focus on as the priority. But there's a couple of other examples as well where Slot has had such a major impact. Look at Tsimikas. Look at his form this season. He looks like a different player. He is better positionally, he's more aware, he's more controlled, and he's playing out of his skin. Probably the best form of his Liverpool career to date. And then you've got Andy Robertson, who I think we can all agree has had a bit of a tail off. But he also didn't have hardly any rest, and he had injuries. So guess what? Slot has gone, I'm not going to play you back into form. You're going to sit it out, you're going to work on your fitness, you're going to get back to full capability. We've got Costas who can come in and do that job for you while you get back up to speed. So he's also shown that he's not worried about someone's name. Slot's gone, you know what? You're not ready right now, and I'm taking it out until you are. It's brilliant management. There's one I think that Slot is continuing to work on, who hasn't quite got there yet, and that's Dominic Szoboszlai. Slot has said that he wants to see him with more goals and more assists. And right now that hasn't come off yet. Szoboszlai hasn't really stepped it up to the level of these other players I've talked about. I think he will. I think Slot's going to get it right with him. He was automatic at the start of the season. He's not automatic now. Curtis Jones is knocking on the door. Harvey Elliott is about to come back soon. So you put all this together, you've got almost every player playing to his full potential, whether it be right back, centre, defence, midfield or forward, winger or right up front. They're all playing at an extremely high level, even higher, I would suggest, than many of us thought that they could get to in some cases. So the result of that is that this is a team that is flying. To use an old cliche, is an extremely well-oiled machine, and all the parts are firing the way that they should be. And as a result, we're top of the league and we're top of the Champions League. There's more to come, and it just might be getting even better. You never walk alone. See you after the Southampton game. Ta-ra.